I'm watching the Laken Riley trial that's happening in Georgia right now, and it's very heartbreaking. There was something that was said in that trial that sounded way too familiar, and I heard the exact same thing in another trial with another crime that happened against another woman across the country. This crime happened against Brianna Kupfer, 24 years old, in Los Angeles. Laken Riley, 22-year-old nursing student. Brianna Kupfer, 24-year-old. I believe she was studying, I want to say like graphic design or interior design. I think interior design. And unfortunately, both of these women had their lives taken by men in very brutal fashion. And both women, there was something that was said by the prosecution in both of these crimes, and that was that both of these men were looking for women to attack, looking for women that were alone and vulnerable. Not any particular woman, just a woman that was alone and vulnerable. And we're seeing more and more of these crimes happen at random to women simply for being a woman, simply for being vulnerable and out in public, wherever you may be. There is actually a local news reporter she's out of New York City, and she was walking around New York City one day and was randomly attacked by a male. And she started noticing that these things are happening more and more. Attacks like we saw with Brianna and Laken, but also just these random, like one-off things that are happening to women without any other motive being present, like a robbery, SA, things like that. And I'll tell you why this is happening. Well, this reporter, she was like, I don't know why this is happening. She's like, it's my mission to gather stories from all over the country and figure out why this new trend is happening, why it seems to be at random, and why it's not just one city, it seems to be all over the United States. Well, I'm here to say this, and I'm especially talking to my liberal Democratic women. There is a very simple explanation as to why this is happening, and it's not that crazy. There's not a big conspiracy theory. There's not something new in the water or in the air. What is happening is that in cities all across the country, not just our cities, but also our border, we don't have a border, so we're allowing people in. We have soft on crime prosecutors all over, defund the police movement, criminal justice reform. So we're not prosecuting crime. We're letting people out. In almost all of these cases, if the individual is caught, this individual more than likely will have a very long rap sheet and the type of things where you're like, why were you out on the street? We're not prosecuting these crimes. Same with Laken. This person should not have been in the country in the first place. That doesn't mean everyone that comes in is going to commit these types of acts, but it does mean that if we had proper vetting, if we were following our laws on the border, this would not have happened. Brianna, if this person was being held, this would not have happened. They wouldn't have been free to commit more crimes. You see, when you have less consequences, people get bolder and they commit more crime. And unfortunately, the people that are going to get the brunt of more crime are the most vulnerable. Women, children, elderly. So yeah, they are going to be the ones that are going to get targeted more simply because they're more vulnerable, and we're not prosecuting crime. Most of the crime is committed by a very small number of people. It's actually really easy to stop it if you want to. But for some reason, the will in a lot of these cities is not there. And for some reason, Democrat women have been convinced by a dishonest media, by dishonest politicians that have ulterior motives, that women's rights equals abortion. Well, ask Laken, ask Brianna, because their lives were taken simply because they were women and simply because they were there. They don't have the option of having they have zero rights now because they're not here. If you don't have public safety, if you can't leave your home and feel safe, if you can't go to work like Brianna Kupfer, working your part-time job in a nice area at a luxury furniture store, you don't have any rights. If you can't go on a run at 9 a.m. in your college town, in small town Georgia, on a very popular trail close to your home, if you can't do that with and be safe, you don't have any public safety. So if you're wondering why these things are happening and why women are more vulnerable members of society are being targeted, there's your answer. It's not rocket science. It doesn't take a big investigation. It just takes understanding that 2 + 2 = 4. And if we want a safer community, if we want safer neighborhoods, if we want women's rights, if we want women to feel empowered to dress how they want, to feel independent, to go out there and be boss babes and work out and lean in, then they're going to need public safety. They're going to need consequences for people that commit crime and a closed border. Otherwise, you ain't got nothing. And you're going to have to get used to a new normal, in which you're going to have to get used to not having the same rights that you used to be able to have and not be able to have the same freedoms that you used to be able to have, because we're just letting criminals roam free now.